And joining me in studio now is Roger Schlesinger. We call Roger the Mortgage Minute Guy, amongst other things. But Roger, welcome to the program.
Thanks, Don. Nice to be here.
You know, Roger, we're talking to a couple of different companies that are, one is exclusively in the business of acquiring distressed real estate. The other one has it as part of their holdings. But there seems to be a groundswell of opinion that things are starting to get better in the real estate industry, and of course that's your bread and butter. What's your opinion of that?
Well, I felt that the market turned about 4 months ago.
Okay.
And I wrote an article on it, and I've been telling people, and we've seen tremendous signs all around the country, especially in Southern California, where I have to see them because I live in them.
Right.
But there's some things that are very disturbing that I heard today. For instance, they talked about new home sales a few days ago, and they were up, and they talked about the prices had fallen like 24% from year over year. They always have to go year over year. They don't go month over month because they're actually going up month over month. They want to make it look grim.
Of course.
But they did say that Fannie and Freddie and a lot of the banks are holding back their REOs, their real estate owned, the foreclosures that they've taken back because they don't want to hurt the market.
Okay.
And that we have this shadow inventory there that nobody really has a grip on the size.
Okay.
And I tend to agree with them. I have noticed that because banks do not move very quickly now on their REOs. You'd think that they want to get rid of them, that they're non-performing assets, that they get some of the reserves back and get them to working, and they don't. And I didn't realize that they're actually not even working on them. And that's a kind of a scary thing because along with that, we still have all of the option arms that are going to have to face the music one of these days. And so we could be in deeper trouble than we think we are. And there's so much optimism right now. It really makes me nervous.
Well, I mean, let's face it. In the United States of America, we're an optimistic country by nature. But there's so many different things affecting the real estate industry right now. I mean, you can't turn on a TV and not see an infomercial for loan modification. You can't turn on a radio without someone screaming at you, usually it's some law firm saying, we know how to modify your loan, don't talk to anybody else, we're going to take care of it, we know what the banks want and what they don't want, and all of this screaming. People who are in loans that they're not happy with are finding it's very difficult to refinance these loans to get into a more comfortable situation. And let's talk about that for a second, because you're the Mortgage Minute Guy.
That's my business.
For people who are unhappy with their current loan situation, they want to stay in their home. They don't want to become a foreclosure statistic. They want to keep the house, but they want to try to change the loan. They've got, like you say, an option arm with a ticking time bomb, I guess, maybe a year or two.
They're going negative, and they can only go negative to a certain part, and then the bank says no more. And now you not only cannot have a teaser rate, and you cannot go negative, you have to have fully amortized rate. So they go from like a 2% rate to an 8% rate, and they go for 2% on a teaser rate to 8% on the entire balance, and they can't make it.
Yeah, so you have someone who, is making their payments, their current, probably don't qualify for loan modification based on those parameters, but they want to do something. What can they do?
Well, let me stop you first. Loan modification is more or less a joke.
Okay.
I mean, there are so few people who get modification, and there are so many scam artists out there that are stealing people's money. I mean, loan modification has become a real third world country compared to the mortgage industry, and they've admitted that they've probably modified several thousand loans in the whole United States when they were hoping to modify thousands and thousands of them. It just hasn't worked. It wasn't set up properly. Nobody had the parameters, and most of all, like the program that came out for people who wanted to be in their home, they made their payments on time, they have a Fannie or Freddie loan, and the president announced we could go up to 105%.
Okay.
And that came out 3-4 months ago.
Right.
Well, that's great, except none of the banks would take that business. They didn't want to go to 105%.
No, of course not.
They didn't want to go over 95%. Yeah. So we had something that they would say, we'll go to 105, we wouldn't do it. Now he's raised it to 125. So people are calling and say, gee, it's up to 125%, I'd love to do it. We're not to 105 yet, let alone 125.
Yeah, I mean, who's going to take 125 if they won't take 105?
That's right. So there is a real dysfunction between what the government announces, what the people want, and how to get there, because there's so many roadblocks in the way. And that's a real problem. Now, because of this HVCC that was thought up by the Attorney General of New York, whose name I've been trying to forget for years. We are in a world of hurt. That stands for the Home Value Code of Conduct.
Okay.
And what it is, it's making the appraisal business like pin the tail on the donkey. You got to put a blindfolder over the appraiser. He gets to go out there. He doesn't have one clue of what he's looking for, other than there's a house, tell me what it's worth. And we are just being hammered by one appraisal after another, not coming even close, just ruining every single deal. Well, the one thing that is helping is the fact that we can at least go to 90%. If you didn't have mortgage insurance, we don't have to add mortgage insurance. The banks will at least go to 90%. So when they bring them in, where we're ordering them at 75% loan to value, and they come in at 85, we can still do them.
Okay.
So that is a bit of a help there. But there's a lot of rules with those too. Some banks won't do them unless it's their own loan, and so there is a whole index of things that we have to go through on every single loan right now.
Well, let's face it. I mean, 3 years ago, 4 years ago, it was probably easier to get a home mortgage than it was to get a car loan. And nowadays, you know, the road is just covered with mines under the roadbed, and it really makes sense for someone to talk to someone like you to try to navigate through this minefield. If people want to get a hold of you and really try to figure out their personal situation, what can they do?
They can call me at 866-304-9378, or they can write to me at mortgageminuteguy.com, and every email that comes in goes right to me.
Okay. Now, about 30 seconds left, but I just want to kind of reiterate, I mean, there is a general sense of optimism that's brewing, and people are starting to feel better about things. Consumer confidence seems to be catching up here month after month, week after week. As far as you're concerned, are better times ahead of us very soon?
Well, I think the real estate market, yes. We're seeing a lot of purchases going on, more than I've seen in probably the last 3 years.
Okay.
What's not happening is second homes are not happening right now.
Okay.
Non-owner occupies are very difficult to do, so those are investor products, even though we need them and we should do them.
Once again, the Mortgage Minute Guy, Roger Schlesinger. Roger, thanks as always.
Thank you, Don.